Doing it while we're here.
Okay.
We're here. We did it. We are live, my friends. I told you guys this was going to be a party, and we're basically having one backstage, having too much fun before coming to you. Also, we have a special guest that you all can't see. His name is Taco Cat, and he is right here. And every time I move my hand or microphone, he goes. So this is just going to be really interesting for the next hour because it is actually raining here in the Colorado Rockies, where it has basically been spring since Thanksgiving and summer since March 1st. Winter never arrived, except for now it's April Fool's Day. So it's going to be cold and rainy. And we have to cover all of our fruit trees that blossomed 1 month early. That is Jim's project for the day. Karen Jackson and Mark Missiano, welcome. You two are part of my Grapevine, and we're going to talk to everybody out there about what the heck the Grapevine means. So for any of you who are just tuning in, this is a monthly series. It is either the first Tuesday or Wednesday of the month. And it is inspired by the Job Seeker Summit, which Karen and Mark were both part of back in January, where we had over 30 coaches come together to give all of you job seekers some relief from the pain. And it was such a huge hit that we figured, why not continue the momentum with this little momentum series? I've cornered the word momentum, by the way. Because if you haven't voted in the Momentum Awards yet, you are looking at two lovely nominees, everybody. Go cast your vote because we're celebrating some awesome coaches. Now, let's get into this chat about networking. So, Karen, I'm going to start with you because I got to give credit where credit's due. You're the one that said to me the Grapevine, and I was like, oh, that's what we're going to call this little chat about networking. And it's such a good word because networking has changed a little bit, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, I want you to kind of set the stage. What has changed about networking over the last maybe 1 to 3 years, and why is the Grapevine important?
I think the Grapevine, what I find is why it's so important is because people get very intimidated by the idea of networking. And what people don't realize is when we're networking, we're actually showing up to that space and they're getting a preview of how we're going to show up to work, right? Our energy, how we communicate, how we have conversations and connect with people. If we're awkward, that's going to show up. But however, when we're networking, the nice thing about it is it's low stake, high reward, right? So we can show up, we can practice how we communicate with people. And the Grapevine is oh so important because we're practicing with the people that we know already, the people that we're already comfortable with. And so what I have seen in my experience is, especially with AI being in the picture, harnessing that Grapevine is all the more important because we need the human connection, like we've talked about so many times. We need authenticity, and we need to verify that we are who we say we are. So stay within your Grapevine, practice how you connect with people, because we're talking to robots all day. We need to connect with real people.
Yes. Mark, what have you seen change in the last couple years of networking?
For a lot of my clients, they're really, what's the word, squigged out by networking because they see it as ultra transactional. I think that the pandemic did this weird thing to us where networking became really detached and really cold because everything was through a screen.
Yeah.
And so we all just adopted this mentality that, like, well, you're not a person, you're just the other side of my screen. And so getting back to this idea that it's not transactional, that it's relational and it's human, and that that's a good thing, and that like we need to be authentic and genuine in that is like the space where people want to exist. And it's fascinating because I find that so many people are afraid to exist in that space but prefer to exist in that space. Like because I posted about this on LinkedIn yesterday, I was like, my LinkedIn profile is not a place for you to copy and paste my posts into Chat GPT and paste the response. I don't want that. Like, stop it. This is not the place to do that. If you want to have a conversation with me in my comments, awesome, but type it yourself. Right? Like, I don't want Chat GPT's thoughts on my post. I want yours.
Luckily, side note, I think that the AI auto commenters have died off just ever so slightly because you're dead to me if you do that, by the way, because you ain't a human
So
and you don't
annoying.
want to connect with a human. Last month I wore my human shirt. Today it's cold and rainy, so I'm not wearing the human shirt. But that to me is that is the common theme of what this grapevine even is. Because you guys all set this up perfectly with the fact that humans are more important now in hiring than ever. And it is so ironic that it is easier and more fun to connect with and talk to humans, even if you're an introvert, than to sit behind a computer and get rejected from a robot who's not even looking at your stuff, right? However, I think it's a feeling. It feels awkward, disingenuous, and self-serving. And what I'm hoping all of us do today is kind of break down that, not myth, but feeling, and give people some tools in kind of how to navigate this. Because before we get into that part, we're still kind of just clarifying some things. Because one thing I think, Karen, you said is that, the cold outreach on LinkedIn has gotten to be another bottleneck. Because Mark, I think what you just said is totally true. It is like a 5-year stacking of the bottleneck that started with digital exhaustion from the pandemic. But now, the last 2 or 3 years, the market has been so tight, people have finally realized you have to network in order to circumnavigate these application stacks. And it's created another bottleneck that makes LinkedIn cold outreach really, really hard. Have you guys seen that too?
100%. Yeah. And I think LinkedIn can be used strategically, right? We can network virtually. We also need to network in those spaces where the humans are, right? Like we
Yes.
can research, we can recon, we can build connections on the back end using LinkedIn and using social media, but get out in those spaces and connect with people.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the connect with humans in real life because I agree. LinkedIn is a really strategic place to network, but the strategy has shifted a little bit because connect with somebody who's like an alumni or a second connection at a company of interest has become harder. So, Mark, how do you coach people into navigating this bottleneck?
Well, I think it depends on if they are connecting with somebody that they like knew from a previous job or if it's a cold connection. So I guess my question first is like, which are we talking about?
Ooh, okay. So let's
Ooh.
backtrack a second. Karen, define the grapevine for everybody.
The grapevine is the connection of people you already have, regardless, whether it's professional or just casual, personal. It's everybody already in your network. That's the thing that gets taken for granted, and it's there. It already exists.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, the thing that I impress upon my clients is that no one wants to help you if you haven't invested in them first at a human level. So and
Hmm.
I posted about this, and she might be watching. It's one of my favorite clients I've ever had because she was just so down to earth and cool. But we had this big, long conversation, weeks of conversation in coaching, where she said, networking is transactional. Nobody cares. It's so icky. I hate doing it. And so I finally convinced her to just try it with a woman that she had worked with about 4 or 5 years ago who just got a new job. And she said, it didn't work. She didn't respond to me. She read my message. She didn't say anything. I'm so annoyed. I said, read me your message. She wrote, I saw that you just got a new job at this company. I love the work there too. Do they have any openings? And I went, boo. And then I posted
I
about it on
remember
LinkedIn
this.
the next
I think I
day.
remember you texted me, speaking of our grapevine, and he goes, I just booed a client.
She might even be watching this. She is like the coolest person ever. But there was that moment where I did that, and she was like, what? And I was like, you made it transactional when you were just complaining about how transactional it is. So it is not, hey, I need a favor. It's like, what's going on with you? What are you working on? Like, you popped up in my feed, and I remembered all the great things that we used to do, and it made me so warm and fuzzy inside. Let's reconnect. Right? Have a 15-minute conversation with that person on the phone or on Zoom or wherever, and then you are allowed to have an ask because you have reinvested in them. So that like these networking conversations that are about us, me getting a job, end up primarily being about the other person before you ever talk about what you need.
Yes. So here's the thing. Everyone knows what the heck we're doing. This is no secret. However, who you approach and how you approach are equally important.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even if we all know what's going on here, respecting the human who is willing to help is the name of the game. So I said to somebody, we all know I work with lots of engineers. The engineer would probably do something even buoyer than what you just said, Mark. Sorry, love you all, but you know, zeros and ones don't often lend to nuanced communication to dangle a carrot to get a response, right? And I was talking to somebody and he goes, yeah, well, I basically I send him a message, I send him my resume and I say, let me know if there's any openings. And I said, do you take a diamond ring in your pocket on a first date?
Nice.
Yes.
Dead silence. And then he goes, oh.
Ooh.
Right? So there's so many correlations between job searching, interviewing, and networking and dating.
Ooh,
but it
yes,
helps
there
for
is.
some reason. It psychologically helps to think about this in the correlation of a romantic partnership because we're also familiar with that, right?
Mhm.
We know why we're all dating. Well, most of us know why we're all dating. It is to find a partner, right?
100%.
Present company excluded. However, we don't go into the situation with that direct ask right off the bat, or you're going to be freaking creepy and not worthy of a relationship. And so that turns over here, right? Start a conversation, respect their human, and if they get it, they'll get it. To me, networking is either a positive or a neutral. It is rarely, if ever, a negative.
100%. And when you network, you're practicing your communication skills. And that's the thing that people need work on. So it's connecting with people, but it's practicing how you communicate.
Yes.
I got off of a coaching call with like an executive level client, and we were talking about the networking piece, and she is having conversations galore, like left and right constantly. And I'm so proud of her for it. I'm like, I want all my clients to do this because it's the right thing to do and it's the best way to find a job. But she said, what I'm really using some of these for, she's like, I'm having conversations with people that I know I don't want to work at their organization. I'm not interested, but I am taking notes on what people are responding to. If people are going, oh, wait, what does that mean when she talks about what she wants next? She's like, that was the wrong messaging. And she's refining her messaging using examples from real life networking.
Oh, that's smart. So these actually can be informational interviews.
Yeah.
And it's Karen, you're so spot on. It is a less intimidating way to refine your story, figure out how to articulate your story in a way that it will be well received. Because to bring this all back to the Grapevine, while we had a little fun for the last few minutes, is to me, the Grapevine is the network that you already have. A lot of times I tell people to go call the first 5 contacts in their Rolodex, and you'd be surprised how young you are and still know what a Rolodex is somehow. I've had to describe resume paper to a 24-year-old, but they know what a Rolodex is somehow. Anyway, and to me, that's the Grapevine, right? It is your existing network, and it doesn't matter how far they are, but you have some direct or can easily get a direct connection to them. And that Grapevine has a much higher ROI and value now than it did before. You've all heard that phrase that your network is your net worth. It is never more true than as Diana Alt says in the year of our Lord 2026, that your network is your net worth now, because it is easier both psychologically and logistically to go through the Rolodex, pick card number 4, send them a text and talk to them and say, here is what I'm looking for. Who do you know who I can talk to, and get them to introduce you to somebody, then you sliding in somebody's DM on LinkedIn.
100%.
That's what we're talking about, navigating the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Well, and Karen, you're really good at this. So I want to hear your advice on what you tell people, because I have had clients who go, for people who are in my network, I don't want to be a burden to them. Or make them feel obligated. Or like, what if they don't have anything for me? They're going to feel bad. Like, what do you say to stuff like that?
So when somebody comes to me with that approach, I tell them people genuinely want to help people in their network. If I have a friend coming to me asking advice about anything, I will respond. I'm not going to be offended that they came to me, because first of all, they were thinking of me. Secondly, I have something to offer. I always do, right? Mm-hmm. So people in that Grapevine, in that network, are a really good source to reach out to. They're already there. You've already got the backstory. You've already got the history. So don't be intimidated by your own people. right? It's funny because when I think about the grapevine, right? I work largely with deaf and hard of hearing people, professionals. And the reason it got me thinking about the grapevine is because they already have such a thick and rich grapevine because of the communication access, because they have to advocate for each other every single day. And so it already exists based on those two things, if not more. And so it's kind of like, the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Everybody knows that. If you know
People
one
don't
person,
know that
you know
anymore.
half
It's
a dozen.
terrifying. I don't know.
Yeah.
I said that to somebody. I said that to maybe like a younger millennial, and they were like, "Who is Kevin Bacon?" And I died a little inside.
Oh no.
Go watch
Yeah,
Footloose,
have that
people.
happen.
Go watch Footloose, and not the one with Juliana Huff. Go watch OG Footloose, and you will know all about Kevin Bacon. But this is a good point, right? The 6 degrees of separation is the grapevine, and it is the way to navigate the search. Because the other thing I hear in combination with what you just said, Karen, also Mark, thank you for taking the moderation. Would you like the script?
That was a beautiful
There
question.
is no script here, people. There is no script. One of the things I try to, people feel like, well, none of these people are connected to anything I want to do. I don't care. They're connected to you.
Always.
Yep.
Human connection. That's it.
And that's where, if you were here last month, you heard Diana and Scott and I talking about how job search writer, and the bottom line there was clarity, right? And this stuff stacks. There is a logical order to these monthly sessions, people. So attend them all and learn, because your network is going to be useless to you if they're not connected to what you want to do. If you cannot clearly articulate what you want and create specific action and asks so that you can help them help you. That's the thing. People feel like they need to be real soft with this. So if we can get them to reach out, it's like, hey, here's my resume. Let me know if you hear anything. People, I don't do anything with that. And I'm a freaking career coach because I don't know what to do with it. So do you think your best friend's neighbor down the street is going to do anything with that if you didn't give them a specific ask attached to it?
100%. Yeah.
Basically, this is just my time to be on a soapbox with my friends. So how do you guys create specific asks? I would love to hear, Mark, let's start with you. If somebody out there has, let's say they want to change industries, but their network, their grapevine is currently in the current and past instead of the future. What's an example of an action or an ask they can put out to someone in their grapevine to get that help in a specific manner?
Yeah. The clarity piece first, right? So as soon as you know what it is you want, if you can communicate that ultra succinctly so that it can be immediately repeated to somebody else. Yeah, 3 bullet points.
3 points.
You walk in and you go, hey, I am leaving this industry. I want to make a change and I want to do blank. Is there anyone that I should be talking to? Is like it opens up the world to you when you say, is there anyone I should be talking to? And if you talk to the wrong person, is there anyone else you think I should be talking to? Like, it's just like, just ask for more introductions, because, and that's, where it vines out, right? Is like, there might be people peripherally related to you, but if you get that connection through, if I know Karen and Karen knows Angie and Angie can help me, when I say to Karen, is there anybody else I should be talking to? Oh, yeah, you should be talking to Angie because Karen knows exactly what I want because I've told her very clearly. And then the connection isn't like, hey, total stranger. It's, oh my gosh, we both love Karen so much. And let's chat about her for 2 minutes before we start talking about you and me.
Yes. Have you ever seen the memes, Mark? I know you have because I send them to you on Instagram that say the best way to find a best friend is to have a common enemy.
Ooh.
This is kind of the same thing, right? The common enemy is the dumpster fire of a market. Go find friends who are either in it with you or want to help you through it. And then you have common ground to go back to what we talked about earlier, create or refresh a relationship that is about you seeing them as a human, asking them, how did you get here? What do you like about the company? What suggestions do you have for me? And then that will naturally turn to a conversation about you and what you're looking for. You've got to have your really succinct soundbite on here's what I'm looking for and here's how I think you can help. And get nuanced with this. One of the things I do with clients is I have them build a spreadsheet of the grapevine. I will even have them download their contacts from LinkedIn because you can do that. You can download the connections. You can't download the contact information. And we just go through it line by line. Who is this person? Where do they work? And how do you know them? So what's the nuanced level of messaging here? And what you find is when you go through that, there tends to be themes. And then you start to have like, your 3 to 5 carrots that you dangle as your opening message to maximize the chance of a response. Newsflash, that carrot rarely, if ever, has a resume attached to it, and rarely, if ever, is longer than 3 lines in the length that you can see in the pop-up of a LinkedIn message.
Absolutely.
There's
Well, and you know what?
Absolutely.
Ratchet up your response rates too, even with people that you know. Ask a question. Humans
Yes, this
are
is one of your
wired to answer questions. So I do this every single time. You have 3 or 4 sentences, and the last one says, do you have 10 or 15 minutes on Friday to
Yes,
catch up? Question mark.
specific.
Humans hate ignoring questions. If you say, I'd love to chat, I can ignore that all day. But
Yes.
do you have time to, with a question mark, increase your response rate like tenfold? It's crazy.
And you have
Proof
to
in the
think, I want to add to this because you think about that network and that grapevine, like that builds a proximity to the thing that you want. Proximity is key to getting that opportunity and making those connections, right? So when you're utilizing your grapevine, who have also a grapevine, you're creating a closer proximity to the thing that you want. Like you're getting
Yes.
closer to your goal.
Oh, I thought we lost you in a minute, but and I'm going to draw this back to like your overall job search as a whole. Even once it used to be, how do I get my foot in the door? And that's really what networking can help you do. However, getting your foot in the door is no longer, from a statistics perspective, it is not leading to the rates of success we used to see because the number of qualified candidates in an interview process is higher. So we're seeing people go through more, interviewing for more roles than they ever have before, coming up bridesmaid, never the bride more frequently than they have before. And the thing about networking is getting in the door through a personal connection actually earmarks you as a higher quality candidate because essentially you've been vetted in some way. And so it actually helps once you're in the door because there's like a trust factor there. And so there's multiple reasons to do this in addition to the very obvious, get your foot in the door. And so I think this is a good time. We're already kind of started. And one of the things I wanted to do was workshop some of these scenarios that people bring to us. Like, well, I don't want to reach out because I haven't talked to this person in 4 years. What's the carrot, Mark?
Yeah. That's your, like, I want to hear about you. I want to know what's new with you. Like, your life seems so fun and interesting, but we haven't caught up in such a long time. And when I saw you on LinkedIn, I couldn't help but reach out. I do that all the time.
Don't overcomplicate this, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's like if you saw that person in a restaurant and across the room,
Walk over.
what would you walk over and say? Say that.
Yep.
It's not that
100%.
hard.
Easy.
Karen, what are some of your kind of favorite conversation starters?
Yeah, I always start with how was the family? How was that last vacation you took? I mean, these are and we have like all these conversations that we build upon. So dig from that toolbox, utilize that to help you get to the next, like, that next that mile marker, right? And so I think it's more about just reconnecting on that human level to build upon something else.
Well,
I
go ahead,
will
Mark.
say, I see Karen like 2 or 3 times a month on different like meetings, maybe sometimes more. And I will say it is the most like meaningful thing that she always starts with like a, how's your new dog? How are you enjoying Philadelphia now that you moved? Like, Karen puts this into practice, and then it makes me go, oh, if somebody, like, if I get a client who's like, hey, I have a deaf cousin who do you know who can help? I'm immediately going to think of Karen because she's invested so much in me. It makes me want to invest back into her. That's a huge deal.
It's leading by example.
Yeah.
Well, we don't do things. We don't ask people to do things that we're not willing to do. I mean, I may not be out there searching for jobs, but we're just too close to the trenches. So you guys bring up a good point and kind of a theme here. What makes a person easy to help?
Curiosity makes them so easy to help because when they come with an open mind, ready to do a little bit of work, we can meet them somewhere in the middle and work going forward, right? So curiosity to me is like, that's the gold.
And I'm going to say genuine curiosity. Right? Like some of this is, it's not forced. We don't want it to be performative, even though we all know we're working towards a goal. Like genuine curiosity and interest in the human that you're talking to so that they can have genuine interest in you. I love. Mark, what's your thought on what makes somebody easy to help?
Well, I mean, I don't want to like beat a dead horse here, but the clarity, like it's easy to help you if you know what you need. If you don't know what you need, it's really hard for me to do that.
Yeah, and like don't be afraid to get granular with this stuff. You can a lot of times see, for instance, this is where like LinkedIn is still a good resource, even if cold messaging is a challenge. First of all, cold messaging isn't going to work if you don't do any of it. But if you do it the right way, it increases your chances slightly. However, you can also look at other people's networks. And so if you're going to reach out to a person that you haven't seen in 4 years, warm up a conversation, at some point when it feels tactful, you can say, hey, one of my target companies is blank, because you have the clarity to have a list of companies you're targeting. One of my target companies is blank, and I see you're connected to so-and-so who works there. Would you be up for an introduction? That is being easy to help. That is not over asking, because they could either say absolutely, or I actually do not know that person from Adam, which is me and most of my 16,499 connections, right? But the answer is no if you don't ask. And these people are not going to blacklist you. I've only ever seen one asshole on LinkedIn who was a director of HR sounding off about how dare clients try to circumnavigate the application process by reaching out to hiring managers and recruiters. And guess who was the first one to start the flame war that made her take the post down? That is only like, right? That is, you're not going to get blacklisted. This is either a positive and will get you somewhere, or a neutral because these people don't respond to anyone.
Can I tell a very quick story on this? Okay, so I had a client who also might be watching. He follows some of my stuff sometimes. Wanted to be the director of financial aid at a local community college in Richmond, and so he kind of figured out like very easily who his boss would be, the VP of finance, and her name and contact information, because higher ed is easy, right? It's all over the website. So he reaches out to her. They had like a little bit in common, I think, through like different associations or something. So he emailed her and said, hey, I applied to the role. Love what y'all are doing. Community college, great. You know, kind of peripherally mentioned like things they had in common, and then said, did the right thing. Do you have 10 or 15 minutes to chat? I'd love to talk to you. And got an email back. And she said, you have to apply on the HR website. And he was like, the first thing I said was that I applied through the website. Like he was so mad. So he's like looking at that going, networking is a negative. And I love that you've repeated this. It's either a positive or a neutral, because here's the reality of it, because he got that job and asked her, what happened with this? And she said, oh my gosh, HR only allows us to say, you have to apply through the website, but I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you. She said, you were the only person who did that, making me think I can train anybody, but I cannot train initiative into somebody. So she said, when I went to HR, you were the first one.
Enthusiasm.
Right? So she said, I asked for your name to be on the top of the stack of resumes. So he saw it as a negative. It was actually a positive, kind of disguised as a neutral, right?
Right. Oh, I was going to say, it's like, it felt like all three. But the big point is sometimes you do not know what action happens on the back end of a connection, because you might get your profile looked at, right? The goal of outreach is not, or the outcome of outreach is not always a response. Impressions go a long way. And it's funny because I've had people that are like, oh, I shouldn't reach out to a hiring manager that's too forward. If they're visible, they put themselves there. Is that part of the test? The key is, and I think this is the real rub, saying the right thing or not saying the wrong thing is maybe the better thing. Do not use the canned AI message. Don't say hi, checking in on applications, right? Do something like unique and memorable. What are some of your messages you would have somebody send in that case?
100%. And when you think about it, when you utilize your network and your Grapevine, your resume just becomes a logistical piece, right? It's there to support what you've already created. Like it's just that nice little piece of paper that outlines what you've done. So, I mean, that's usually what I tell my clients and my network of people is let that resume be the logistical piece. You know, get out, network, and make those connections.
Yes. So if you had somebody, if you were reaching out to a hiring manager, or a client was reaching out to a hiring manager, what do they say that doesn't sound canned? Do you have a good one for
This
this?
is, it's tough. And I think the audience does matter, right? Like, is it a hiring manager versus a recruiter versus someone who works there? Like,
Yes.
definitely matters because you're going to be doing different things for each of those folks. If you are reaching out to on the recruiter side, somebody who has a decision of whether you get interviewed or not, no recruiter is taking a chance on you, and they don't want like a cutesy, funny little interest.
No, you can
Like
be
a
more
recruiter
direct
wants to be
with
like,
a recruiter.
I have these qualifications and have applied for this requisition number. Like, make it as easy as possible
Period.
for them to grab you and pull you. The hiring manager needs to know I can come in and solve your problem, and that you have gone one level deeper than everybody else. Because here's what everybody does. I see in the job description, or this aligns perfect. I hate when people do this. This aligns perfectly with my experience. It's like they have problems they need solved. So if you can even go a step deeper and go, hey, I applied for the job because I saw on this press release or from your CEO that you have this cool new initiative. I'm excited about being part of that. Do you have 10 or 15 minutes to chat? Right? Throw the question in there. If it's somebody who works there, it's, depending on how close you are, like, hey, what is it like? Is it cool? Seems pretty
Yep.
cool. I want to be cool like you. Right. And so you make the connection. So you can do it so many different ways, but you have to think about who is my audience, what matters to them, and what's going to get them to respond.
What's going to get them to respond? There is a reason, everyone, that at the end of every single output ChatGPT gives you, it asks you if you want something, or it asks you a question because it wants to keep you in your loop. That just is that is evidence to the fact of what Mark is saying is we can't help but answer a question. It's harder to ignore, right?
Yeah,
and with recruiters,
period.
you can just be more direct.
Yep, absolutely.
But also expect a lower rate of response because they are getting hit a little bit more. And so now this takes us back to, I would say, tangential to networking. Karen, you alluded to something related to this. Is applying online even worth it right now?
Ooh, so that comes in
Loaded.
layers. That comes in layers. I think absolutely it's worth applying online. Have connections, right? So if you have referrals within that industry, within that role, use the referral. And that's where I think using LinkedIn, even though it's a little colder, you can follow the company, understand what their ethics, what their core values are. Be ready to talk about those things. So do the research so that you understand how to position yourself, because then you can create that warmer connection on LinkedIn by engaging with their content, and then maybe meeting somebody and saying, hey, I met so-and-so, they said that this would be a great position for me. Then boom, that's a referral. Then if you follow up with the application, with an email, and say, hey, by the way, I met so-and-so, I sent in my application, I'd love to know what, if we can have a conversation about this.
Okay, I'm gonna go opposite direction.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever disagreed with Karen about anything. I always say, no matter what, always go apply first, because you don't want to be caught in a situation where your network takes a couple of days to respond and suddenly that's gone. So
Same.
I am of the mind that, like, why ducks in a row,
You just saw
get it out there,
If you've got
then do all
efficient
the things.
materials and clarity, it should be easy and quick to just
Right.
fire it off. You're already there. Yes.
But there's so much to be said for that networking piece, right? And if you can have the conversation. Now, what I will say is the thing that Karen says to do is I do that for like the VPs and above, right? Like, go have the conversations first, and honestly, before there is a job posted.
Oh,
So that
yes.
they never have to post the job.
I mean, that's
Yes.
ultimately the goal of the Grapevine, right? But the problem is it's a chicken and the egg, right? We will never have a comprehensive enough Grapevine to already have a deposit in the Karma Bank, because, by the way, that's what we're doing when we're networking, is putting deposits in a Karma Bank. And then we are withdrawing them when it is time. However, we're never going to have a comprehensive Karma Bank that covers every single company we ever want. So there's a chicken and the egg situation where you proactively network at a hit list so that you can queue up as much of that, have as much money in the Karma Bank as possible. But then when you go find stuff online, you're going to see stuff that you wouldn't have seen otherwise that would either trigger somebody that's in the Grapevine or could be in the Grapevine that you wouldn't have known about. And you can then or you can retroactively try to find somebody in there. So it's kind of like working both levers at once. I am a fan of a diversified search where you put some time into all channels. The problem we have is people like to sit and be trigger happy on the apply button and avoid the networking at all costs. And that is something you cannot do. In fact, it should probably be the majority of your time. And online is kind of ancillary, or to find opportunities to then activate someone in the Grapevine, but it kind of takes that well-rounded approach. And I agree, Mark. I tell people, if you see something online you're interested in, do it, because statistics show that if you apply within 24 to 48 hours, you have a higher likelihood of a call.
Just gonna say that, yeah.
And so you're not creating the lag, but still enabling somebody in your network to retroactively support you.
You know what, too, though, is interesting? Yes, if you apply within 24 to 48 hours, you have a higher statistical likelihood of landing that job. You know what I wonder, though, is the correlation causation thing here. I wonder if that is the case because people who are jumping on opportunities like that are better prepared, are working with a professional, are, you know what I mean, so that
Thanks
they
for the
can do
commercial
that.
for all
Or
of us.
like they know things are coming down the pipeline because they approach things with that, like, I'm going to network first and I'm going to talk to people first. Like, I wonder if it's not like, oh, I'm more likely to hire someone who applies early. I'm more likely to hire somebody who is so prepared that as soon as it popped up, you jumped on it.
Bingo. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot to be said for, and I feel like Diana and Scott are both here in the audience, and they were with me last month when we did Job Search Writer. And it's so funny how everything we talk about comes back to that foundation of having a clear targets, pre-prepared, aligned materials, and an effective search strategy that does not throw all the things at the wall. You got to throw a little at the wall, but you want to know what wall you're thrown at, right? And so it's the best way. You can be easy to help if you're prepared and if you're kind of like at the ready, which I think is so cool. I also want to take a quick aside. Karen mentioned follow-up, which we're actually going to make all of you hold off in suspense for, because next month's event is all about follow-up. And so I'll drop it in chat. Denise Bittler and Carolina Bustamante will be here on Cinco de Mayo. We got April Fools today and Cinco de Mayo. We'll have some taco cat and some tacos and some margaritas. We're going to talk about follow-up. Taco Cinco de Mayo is also Taco Cat's 5th birthday. It's his golden year this year. When you got a cat named Taco and you don't know when he was born, but you think it was sometime in the spring, you might as well just make it May 5th. And so we're going to talk all about follow-up. So it's a great conversation to follow up on this one, because how do I follow up when somebody doesn't respond, when my Grapevine doesn't respond? How do I follow up when a recruiter or an interview process doesn't respond? So kind of arming all of you out there with lots of sound bites to enable this human to human interaction, because that to me is a lot of the reason why people don't do it. It's they don't know how, not that they don't want to. Mark, go ahead.
Okay, you made me think of something. I deal with a lot of clients too who want to use that immediate network and are like, I reached out to them on LinkedIn, but they didn't. And I'm like, you have their phone number.
Yes.
Or I emailed them. And I'm like, okay, number one, I learned this from Jay Carlisle last year at a conference. He said the average user, because he's like a LinkedIn HQ guy, the average user is on LinkedIn 22 minutes per month.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the likelihood of them responding to you is low. If it's a person you haven't talked to in a couple years and you don't have their number, like, LinkedIn sure does make sense. But then before I send a message, I go to their activity section. You can see every single thing anyone has ever done on LinkedIn. Reactions, comments, posts. I go to their reactions. If they haven't reacted to anything or posted in the last 6 months, why am I wasting my time on LinkedIn messaging them? Like, I'm going to find a peripheral connection, get their phone. Like, yes, we're doing a professional thing here, but that doesn't mean it can only exist on LinkedIn. Like, go to your phone and
if they're in your Rolodex, use the information on the damn card, right? Use the means of communication with which you use most frequently with somebody if you're already in communication with them. LinkedIn is a great default if you can't, but I agree with you, Mark. That is a wasted in-mail message if they have not commented, posted, or liked something in more than like 4 to 6 months, if not even shorter. Here's a pro tip, everyone. You can a lot of times guess email addresses, because if you know the company URL, the email address is typically first name, first initial, last name, or first name dot last name @ Now, if they throw the middle initial in there, you're screwed. However, you can try to email them. I have had it work.
You know what else? If you sign up for a website called mailscoop.io, it is an
Ooh.
email finding tool. You get a certain number of a month, and they are a career coaching business, so they will try to get you to like pay for a whole bunch of other stuff. And
Disclaimer.
it's like it's a lot of like AI stuff,
Don't
which
pay us.
is okay. But what I will say is Mailscoop will find with very solid accuracy people's email addresses, and it tells you how confident it is whether or not that's the right email address. I tried it
Yep.
for myself in my business, and it was 100% accurate. I've actually never had it tell me like I can't find it.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
we are on the topic, I want to talk about AI, and then I want to talk about in-person networking. Let's just talk about two extremes. So you can also use, like, ChatGPT can deep research like recruiter firms. It can pull up email addresses at them. I would say it has a 50 to 60% accuracy rate. But there are more tools now to try to find networking avenues that are maybe fresher for the time being. Eventually people will figure it out, but the big thing here is don't not network because you don't know what to say. Figure out what to say so that you can network. And then I want to make a really important point. Once you start networking, do not stop. Because most people begin networking because they need to.
Mhm.
And it is infinitely more uncomfortable to do it when you actually know at the end of the day you need / are asking for help versus just continuing to nurture that network. You don't have to do it as aggressively or anything like that. But once you start networking, never stop, because then you will never need to go through the lift, and you will likely never need to full on job search again.
Can I tell you a really quick story about this? The reason
You
that
have a
this is
story
so
for
important.
everything. I
I'm
love it.
full of
Yes.
stories today. Okay, I know a guy named Steve Perkins, and Steve Perkins and I met at a random networking thing. I could not even tell you where, years and years and years ago. And he was talking about he wanted to build this whole coaching thing. And I followed up with that man every like 3 to 6 months for like 2 years. And then one random day in November, he calls me and he's like, I'm launching this week, or like, are you ready to go? I want you to be part of it. And I made a bunch of money and got a whole bunch of referrals and worked with some really cool people because I nurtured this relationship over 2 straight years without ever thinking, like, I want this man to make me money, right? It was never about a job. It was, he was cool. We got along. Let's just stay in touch because we're kind of in the same space, and it's cool to talk to people who are interested in the same things I am.
Mhm.
And it turned out to be super lucrative to me in the long run, but that was never the intention. I networked for the sake of relationships.
Yeah. You never know who you're going to meet and where it's going to go, which seems like a great time to talk about in-person networking. Please share your thoughts. Karen, start us off.
Oh, 100%. Because I mean, we are so plugged in, especially since COVID, doing everything online. We've got so many different tools and assets to be able to work remotely. And so network, get out and meet people. It's really the thing I think that will differentiate our clients looking to job seek by stepping into those spaces. Going back to proximity, I always tell people, if you want to be a part of the decisions being made, be in the room where they're being made. Be in the room. Because you, by being there, be curious, right? Then ask questions. Be authentic. It's not about getting hired. It's just about being in the room.
It's it's funny to ask the three of us a question about going to in-person events, because are there three more extreme extroverts in the career coaching space? I don't know. So all of us are like, yes, go be with people. Mark and I are about to go on our annual Thelma and Louise 10-day trip together.
Yes.
Back-to-back events, if that proves our point. But one thing and Mark, I want to hear your thoughts on the in-person event, but I want to say something I say to a lot of clients that helps make sense. The idea of networking, whether it's through your Grapevine, on LinkedIn, in networking events, or whatever it is really all part of this amorphous blob of yarn. And the thing about it is it feels very nebulous and nonlinear, because it is. It's this amorphous blob that is all wound up with each other, unlike the very clear structured pathway to say, look, this is a job online. If I apply, a recruiter will call me, versus why am I doing this? What's this amorphous blob that you don't quite know what you're doing with until somebody goes ching, ching, and pulls on each end of the twine, and it unravels. And you're like, oh, that's where all of this was leading. You just have to trust somebody will eventually pull on the two ends of the twine, and it will unravel into clarity, because it will lead to a better result. You will have knitted yourself a better sweater at the end of the day. Mark, thoughts on in-person networking?
I love it with my whole heart, but also I could talk to anyone about anything for any length of time. So like it's like it's not
All three of
fair
us
to
could talk a rat
approach.
to death if we had the right topic.
Yeah.
No doubt.
It is not fair to approach networking from exclusively like an outgoing, extroverted person's point of view, because most of my clients are not that. Even the ones who are like maybe outgoing, who can jump into conversations, are still introverted and get exhausted by this idea. So
Yeah.
I tell people a couple of things. I mean, again, if we're talking statistics, you are 10 times more likely to find a job through a connection than you are just cold. So wouldn't you rather be uncomfortable and get a job than do busy work of click, 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 and then statistically have less than a 1% chance of landing something new? So like that's number one. I like it sucks that the world favors extroverts and outgoing people, but like can you play the game for this short window of time to allow yourself into that
Because
space?
also, in all honesty, introverts tend to be better networkers because guess what?
Because they're listening.
You listen.
Yes,
So much
and
better.
bring a buddy with you.
Yes.
Buddy.
Bring a
Yeah,
buddy.
bring a buddy every single
Wingman.
time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too, like when you walk in with the mentality that like whatever happens, I'm open to it and I will show up, and that's all I can expect from myself, right? Like that's all I have to do is get into that room. I know a really like decently introverted guy, Roberto Candelaria. I don't know if you've met him
Oh
yet,
yeah, and
Angie.
his entire business is through referrals.
The refers well, and I mean, this man started at the bottom of the like he was a caterer to get into rooms where he could network because he knew who he wanted to meet. So he would figure out where are the people going that I want to talk to, and then he would go be a caterer to
Yep.
talk to them until he
How
was getting
far would
invited
you
into
go?
bigger and bigger rooms.
How far would you go? Because that's
Right.
also part of the thing here is, and I don't want to shame anybody out there, but we are currently in a hiring climate, and we will be for at least the next 2 years and 9 months, where what got us here won't get us there. And so you're going to have to think and do differently and be willing to put yourself out there in ways that you haven't before. What I hope all of us can help you do is lean into that a little bit better and figure out how to do it without completely pushing yourself over a comfort zone that just isn't going to lead to success.
But can I also add something? If you're an introvert and you're looking for a job, pair with one of us extrovert job coaches. We will get you there. Our energy will, it's a catalyst for amazing things.
Yes. Don't do this alone is the big thing. And that's why, you know, to go back as we kind of wind things down, I have a last question for the two of you. So get ready. I have a 2-part last question for each of you. You know, one of the things that really came out of the Job Seeker Summit and the giant response we had to it was the fact that this is challenging and people need to be with people while you're doing it. And so don't do this alone. Whether you're paying somebody, whether you have a never search alone job search cohort that's of mixed personalities, right? The big thing here is this is not something that you want to do solo, because we are no longer in the days of 6-week job searches, right? This is constant methodical effort. There are going to be rejections. There's going to be final rounds you don't get an offer from. And so build a support system to help you through the gauntlet, the marathon that is the gauntlet, right? Because it's not, there's no sprint option kind of anymore. And so on that note, Mark, I'm going to start with you. What is one thing that you wish job seekers would stop doing and start doing? It could be network specific or anything. This is just open forum.
Ooh, start doing and stop doing. Okay. I'm gonna start with stop
Red
doing.
light, green light. It's your favorite exercise.
I want people to stop. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the AI thing. Please stop assuming that AI is going to be your savior in all of this job search. Like, I mean, I'm having people prepare for video interviews by having ChatGPT script answers for them, and then they're wondering while they're sitting there re-recording it 30 times. Well, it's because that wasn't your thought. It wasn't you. It doesn't feel natural. Like writing your resume, and like, forgive me, Donna, my mom, if you're listening to this, plug
Hi,
your ears,
Mom.
but like shit in, shit out, right? So like if I put shit into ChatGPT, it doesn't know me. It's not asking me questions. It's not getting to learn my voice and my story. It's something like ChatGPT is built to do is to give you the most commonly acceptable next words that it thinks you want to hear.
Yep.
It doesn't have the
Even if
ability
you
to
tell it,
differentiate
don't
you.
tell me what you think I want to hear. It is only going to reduce the sycophancy by maybe 15%.
So please just use your own brain. Your brain is what got you to where you are today. It will be the
Yes.
thing that will get you where you want to go.
AI
So
is
that's
an
something
enablement tool, not a replacement. So stop thinking of it that way. It's a great piece of advice.
I wish people would think of it as like a cure for like blank page syndrome, and then you
Yes.
take it and run from there. Anyway, I could talk about that forever, but
That's an hour. That's an hour sound off right there.
yeah, so that's something to stop doing. Something to start doing. Well, like not to be too cliche about it, but like start networking more. Like it's all about connections. The people that I know who are the most successful in job searches right now are not wasting their time with 300 applications. I see so many job seekers. I applied to 300 jobs and I haven't heard anything. You clicked quick apply 300 times. You didn't job search, right? So networking is job searching. And like you made a
Yes.
lot of busy work for yourself,
Yes.
but did you do anything? Probably not, right? So
Reframe
like
it.
we have to reframe how you think about what the job search is and how you execute it, and the networking part is going to be central to it. A good resume is not going to get you where you want to be. It's the
Resume is not a magic bullet anymore, which is also why AI is not a replacement because it can't even write you a good one. But I love this idea of all of you need to reframe the what a job search is, and networking is a job search. Is a great line. All right, Karen, what do you think everyone needs to stop doing, and then what do they need to start doing?
Okay, I think the thing that people need to stop doing is thinking of themselves as a task, as doing tasks. People need to start looking at the bigger picture. I always tell my clients, let's talk about your professional narrative, your professional identity. How do you show up in these spaces? What problems have you solved? What are the biggest projects that you've taken on that are just, you want people to know? Let's talk about the aha moments you had at work. So let's talk about the big picture, not I sat at a desk, I printed things, I did this and that. It needs to be this big scope project that people need to showcase and talk about and get excited and enthusiastic. Because if you put it into chat, it's going to give you task. If you bring in your personal professional story, it's going to give you a whole overall picture of what you've done.
Yep.
That's my biggest advice, most common conversation.
Angie, was it you and I that sent the video, one of us to the other, that was like, what do you do for a living? I do meeting. I do email. Like that's really how people think about themselves. So Karen, that's like a beautiful way of putting that.
Stop
You are not
diminishing
a
or
list of
diluting
tasks.
your experience to a list of tasks, because even if you are in a task-based role, those tasks have stacked to some sort of outcome that impacted either a person, a team, or a business.
Yeah, because when I see somebody's resume, when I'm talking to somebody, I want to see the colors. I want to see the beauty. I want to see the imperfection. I want to see the outcome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we need to stop doing. Stop diminishing ourselves.
Exactly.
What do we need to start doing?
Yeah, leaning into our authentic selves, right? That
She stole my answer.
Human side of who we are, that imperfection, that how we are we quirky, are we awkward when we show up, but do it and just be yourself.
Be okay with it.
That's it.
You know, I always sometimes I ask a question so that I can also answer it, but I'm the host, so I get to do whatever I want. I'm sitting here thinking, like, what are my answers to this question? And literally it is stop trying to be like everybody else and own what makes you different and authentic. Because one, we're in this climate where a company can search out a unicorn and then typically they hire their unicorn, which is also why it takes a while for your unicorn to find the unicorn. But the outcome I'm seeing is really good fits. You got to wait a while to get there, but really good fits. And so if you know what kind of unicorn you are, you can find the company seeking that unique ability, but you got to own it instead of diluting yourself, like Karen said. And then there's also the AI factor there. You know, I feel like, and this is, I talk about this so much in so many different places that I feel like everyone has heard it from me 12,000 times, but AI is forcing us into more human connection. And it started with the digital age, and now AI has exacerbated the need for real, authentic, genuine human connection. And so don't mask it and don't put yourself behind an AI sea of sameness because you think that's what's going to help you get the job. Step out, own your skills and your differentiators and lean into the network that can actually help you job search. There you
The
go.
Grapevine.
The Grapevine. How's that for
Okay, I'm
full
not gonna
circle?
lie. I am 100% stealing quotes from you, Karen. So many of these I'm like, I should say that when I'm coaching people. This is so good.
You guys
Yeah.
are absolutely the catalyst to help me get to even this point. I've worked in this industry for such a long time, but great minds really, really are a catalyst for just creating this kind of conversation. So you guys, Mark and Angie, are both absolutely incredible.
The love fest. We're going to go have one offline now that we're going to end this stream. But to everybody out there, this is what your grapevine looks like. Find it, lean into it, nurture it, never stop, because it infinitely makes your job search and your career development a million times easier and more fun because you're not alone. You don't have to go through the awkward lift if you keep doing it. And it means you get to do great work with great people. So how's that to end the grapevine, everybody? Networking is job searching. That's the win one-liner of the day for me. So I hope all of you have gotten something out of this. Please connect with Mark, Karen, and I here on LinkedIn. Reach out to us if there's something you want to follow up on or we can support. And join us on Cinco de Mayo as we follow up on how to follow up on networking. I'll see you next month, everybody. Job search well.